In today's video, I'm going to be telling you why I don't have band members and what happened to them. But before we get into that, let's go to a cemetery. Before we dive right in, click the subscribe button and the bell to get notified for when I post a new video. They're coming out every Friday, and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm on that mission. Now, let's do this. Alright, back home, let's get stuck into why I don't have any band members anymore. So what happened to my band members? Well, in 2010 in South Africa, I was planning to move to London, and I had a couple guys playing with me there, but they probably smartly decided not to risk everything and move across the world. So, my friend and I decided we'd move to London and start a band ourselves. His name was Diaz. He ended up staying my drummer for, 8 years? Crazy! And in that time period, we had loads of band members. So, I was working as a tutor in South Africa, saved up a whole bunch of money from teaching like 10 hours a day and homeschooling, and I was even like a PE teacher for this one kid, which was kind of weird. But it was cool. It was fun. And I made a bit of extra money. In South Africa, it was pretty good money. But I made enough to be able to sleep on a couch in London for 6 months and not have to get another job. Thinking, I'm going to be huge. I'm going to be famous within 6 months. Very naive. Diaz moved to London 6 months before me and found some... He came actually to do a music course. And he found a couple of guys at the music course who were interested in being in the band, liked the music or the rough idea behind the music. And so when I arrived, we pretty much had like a little band set up, and we went and we were rehearsing and we were writing songs and we were playing little shows in kind of strange places. One of the first shows we played was in a really weird little pub in Leeds, and it was actually a really good deal. I sorted it out when I was still based in South Africa. And I was like, we want 50 quid and we need a place to stay and some food. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And this is like ages ago for a completely unheard of band with no music online or anything like that. So we get to this place in Leeds and we played the concert, but they didn't have any backline, no drums, no cables, no nothing. And that's what they said they would have, so it was a little bit difficult. But we managed to tear our way through a pretty awful show. Get upstairs to where we're going to sleep. Pull the sheets back to find a stuffed animal in my bed. And not the cuddly little bear type. The taxidermy type. So I went paler than pale. And we ran as fast as we could out of that spot. And there were taxidermied animals everywhere. As a vegan, bit creepy. But we ended up staying the night at one of the fans, or the people that were at the show. There were only 3 people there, so we had a pretty... lucky escape. However, that place turned out to be even crazier than the taxidermied pub, because it was a student accommodation, and instead of dead animals, the animals were alive, and not by choice. Fast forward a few months, things are going quite well. We had a few shows that we were really proud of. We got 70 people to come see us at the O2 Arena in the small room. It's called the Indigo. That turned out to be more than the headliner brought, so we were like really excited with ourselves. We played a place called the 100 Club in London, which is super famous. It's got pictures of Jimi Hendrix who's played there, pictures of Paul McCartney who's played there. Actually, Paul McCartney played a charity concert there 2 weeks before we played there, And that was like one of our first shows ever. So that was incredibly exciting. We think, oh, we're making it. There were loads of people there. And then we started to realize that selling tickets in London for concerts is very difficult. So to get 70 people at the first few shows, that was a huge achievement. Little did I know that it's not easily sustainable. Well, fancy seeing you here. If you've watched this far, just write kaboom in the comments just to let me know that you were here. But let's fast forward a few months. We end up going on a little tour to South Africa. Really exciting. These are still the same band members for the most part that had started when we moved to London. We had a great time in South Africa, playing shows. They weren't the biggest shows, but we still had a cool time. We were driving across this amazing country. But that may have taken a bit of a toll on the band members that we had, because they kind of realized, okay, this is really difficult. The tour is really expensive. We didn't make money on the tour. We lost money on the tour because flights are so costly. Our old bass player, he had a death in the family, so he decided to stop with music for quite a while and move back to Italy. Then we had another bass player who also had to leave London because of the cost factor. And then we lost our guitarist because of musical differences. We wanted to do a certain type of kind of indie rock, and he was more interested in like psychedelic rock, which we love as well. But we met a manager, and he told us that we need to choose what type of music we're gonna make, and we need to stick to it. And that's why a lot of first artists' albums have maybe 10 or 12 songs that are all pretty similar sounding. They at least sound in one genre. And that's why artists sometimes deviate or mix it up for a second album, but for the first album, it's all pretty cohesive. So the creative differences there, it was like indie rock or psychedelic rock, you can't really mash those two, or at least we couldn't with the songs that we had at the time. So that's why the guitarist left, which was pretty sad. Then we auditioned this amazing guitarist from Italy called Mirko. He had freshly arrived from Italy, couldn't speak any English, hardly any English. But he did great in the audition, brilliant guitarist, and he ended up being our guitarist for years, which was really, really cool. Him and a bass player called Dan Bowery. Dan is a multi-instrumentalist, and the way that Dan paid for his life in London for the majority of the time being in the band was he was working in a pub, which is pretty classic for most musicians in London, working some other kind of job to pay the bills, because music just definitely won't. Mirko was working as a guitar teacher, doing really, really well. So we ended up going on a tour to South Africa with those guys. We went back to South Africa. We ended up playing the biggest festival we've played to date, which is a festival called Opi Kopi, which pretty much means on the top of the hill. And there were loads of people watching us. Maybe it was because on the poster we were billed as UK band, so the local people were more excited to come see a UK band. We only had 1 or 2 songs on the internet at this point. One of them was Money, and we played this huge stage at a great time slot. There were 2, 3, 4,000 people watching. I have no idea. And they were singing the words to they were singing the words to the songs. They were singing the words to Money. They were singing the words to Might As Well Swim. It was such an amazing feeling. And it's still to date one of the best shows I have ever played. But that tour was really tough. That tour was really hard. We had to drive across the country. We had problems with promoters not paying us properly. So it was tough. It was definitely a tough tour with some amazing highlights and a couple of deep lowlights. And that was probably one of the contributing factors to why both Dan and Mirko had to leave the band. Dan he decided he wanted to spend more time with his girlfriend and also focus more on his own music and try and get more into teaching. And Mirko also was finding it difficult to do original music because he was so busy as a teacher. A skilled music teacher in London is worth quite a bit of money, but it is tough. You have to go to the schools, you have to have students come to you, you have to go to students. It's very time consuming. So he focused on that, doubled down on that, and is doing really, really well. And now he's making original music that he does just as a passion project. He's really putting a lot of time and energy into that, but his main goal is growing his teaching business. Dan also started doing more session musician work because you get paid for session musician work. As an original artist, you don't get in much money. So Dan, by using his amazing musical skills, was able to earn money by playing for lots of different artists. So he's still doing that, also making some original music as well on the side. But his main focus, I think, is the session work, and he's also now getting into teaching, just like Mirko was getting into teaching. So, for a while, Diaz and I, we played as a duo. I was playing guitar. We had the bass on a backing track. Diaz was playing drums. It was kind of working. The cool aspect of that is that we could easily travel. So we went to Poland. We played a festival in Poland. We played a really cool series of concerts called Pop Ronde in Holland. We played 32 concerts as part of this traveling festival in the Netherlands. And because we were a duo, we could fit into some of the smaller locations, smaller bars, smaller pubs. That was a wild, wild experience. I'm so happy we did it. But playing as a four-piece and playing as a duo is a huge difference. Me having to play guitar and be locked on the microphone meant I couldn't run around. I couldn't do my stage diving. I couldn't do my crazy dancing. So I always felt that I wanted to have more band members on stage and take off some of the pressure of me having to play guitar as well. Throughout this whole period, Diaz is also having to earn an income, so he is working as an agent supplying parts for military aircraft in Indonesia. He's from Indonesia. So that was a pretty stressful, time-consuming job, but he managed to balance it while being fully dedicated towards the band. But that takes its toll. It's really difficult to do, and after a while, Diaz decided, look, I can't have a fiance, I can't commit to this other business that I'm doing and still put all this effort in being a musician. And he was feeling like it was taking a toll, that he wasn't able to practice his drumming as much as he would want to. And being in a band is like being a full-time business owner, but then being a musician is another full-time job. You have to practice, you have to plan things, you have to keep learning. So it's, let alone songwriting. Songwriting takes up a whole bunch of time as well, which it's amazing, it's fun, and we love it, but there's only so much time in a day. And living in London is a very expensive city, so Diaz had to make a choice, and his choice was to focus on the military aircraft business and spend more time with his fiancée. So I love that guy. He's always going to be one of my best friends. But I totally understand that he had to make that decision, and I'm so grateful for the years that we had together and all the cool experiences that we've had. So now, where does that leave me? I am a solo musician. I'm not going to give up that dream because I just love it so much. And to have people find my music online and then, buy t-shirts or buy CDs and tell me that the song meant something to them or like made them happy when they were sad or something like that. That is something I cannot give up. So I'm sticking with this. Do I make a full-time living from music? No. That is the dream, but you have to have multiple income streams. It's probably just good advice in general, whatever kind of work you're doing, to have multiple income streams. So I do a whole bunch of different things, but the goal is to get music to be the main income stream. Now, I don't have band members, but I do have musician friends who help me out a lot. So even though I am a one-person show, I have a big supporting cast who are my foundations. I wouldn't be able to go and play a huge festival, a huge concert, and go give it 100% without people that are helping me at the moment, like Kyle. Kyle's helping me on guitar, and he's helping me with some production and mixing. I've got Leo, who's helping me on drums. I've got Chris, who's helping me on bass a lot. So without those guys, who are not charging me what they should or could be charging me, they are still playing with me and helping me out because they realize how difficult it is to make lots of money from independent music in London. So those guys are little angels. Thank you, boys. So how many band members have I had since I moved to London with the Curious Incident? Well, I have, and these are official band members, not session musicians or supporting cast members, official band members. I've had, let's talk about bass players. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bass players. Yeah, I would do 4 like that, but I can't really do my finger like that. It's difficult. 4 bass players. 3 guitarists. 1 drummer. 1 singer. In 7 or 8 years, we had 4 bass players. We've had 3 guitarists, and actually a lot of those changes happened within the first couple of years. At one point, we'd had 3 bass players in 18 months, which is stressful. But all of that stuff kind of got me to where I am today. You know, when I first started music, I started quite late. I was only 21. I was already 21 when I started singing, and I would come up with a melody and then have to have a guitarist try and write some chords underneath what I was doing. That eventually got frustrating, so then I started to learn guitar, and now I'm learning piano and production just to, you know, help me with my creative process, that I can do the writing more by myself and then have people come and support in terms of recording and touring and playing concerts live, and do a lot of, you know, solo acoustic stuff. But the idea is that as I learn more about the production kind of aspect, I can use things like Ableton Live and have loops and, you know, have more of a one-person show, but also go and do big shows with a full band. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm really stoked to be doing these videos every week. If you've got any requests for videos that you want me to do, let me know in the comments. Click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell. Give the video a like. Let's get me to over 1,000 subscribers. That would be so cool. Then I will see you next week. Peace out.